What if I told you this entire ad, every frame of it, was made with zero 3D software, no creative studio, and a tiny budget? In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you could make full CGI ads or short films using nothing but AI tools. Imagine creating professional looking commercials straight from your laptop. No complicated software, no production crew, just you and your vision. AI can now generate photorealistic 3D scenes, dynamic lighting, and fluid camera motion. Kind of stuff that used to take creative teams weeks to pull off. And trust me, if you're not learning how to use these tools, you're gonna lose out to someone who is. I'm Jack, I've been a VFX artist in the advertising industry for over a decade now, and I've worked for many of the biggest brands on the planet. In this video, I'll break down exactly how I planned, generated, and edited this Lego ad. The exact tools I used and how you can utilize this workflow to get some insane results. Yeah, this one was a lot of fun to put together, and I think you're gonna learn a lot. And guys, if you do enjoy today's content, make sure to whack a like on there for me, consider subscribing, and of course, ring that bell notification icon. All right, let's get straight into it. So the first step of this process was, of course, to formulate the initial idea. And of course, I speak a lot about how you can use AI tools within the creative process, but I'm still a firm believer that that initial idea, that first spark, if it comes from you, you're going to get a better final output. So just to walk you through this with a little bit more detail, I think I was on the train or something when I had the idea to specifically try to make a Lego ad. I'd already been thinking that I wanted to create CGI style ads using AI. I'm not too sure why the idea of specifically making a Lego style film came into my head, but I'm really glad it did. We're over on ChatGPT and I'm literally just using the free plan. And you can see at the top here, I said, I've had a concept of a Lego figure working a dull job in a cubicle. His life is grey and monotonous. He sits grumpily using his computer, flicking between different web pages, and he sees something different. It is hidden from us exactly what it is, but his screen is now emitting a golden glow that lights the man's face. And I kind of go through and take the chatbot through my story. And I've just said at the end of the prompt, please write me a script with appropriate shot types / compositions. So rather than me having to go through and think about each individual shot that I need to kind of bring my idea to fruition, ChatGPT's just really got the ball rolling by giving me a variety of different shots. It's even talking about which lenses to use as well. And to be transparent, once again, I'll take this as a jumping off point. I'm not going to do exactly what ChatGPT tells me to. Remember that you as a creative, you always have the edge on these AI tools. So use it as a guide. What was really helpful though was when I asked it to give me a variety of different vignettes. So these are kind of like montage moments for our fantasy sequence. So this is when the Lego figure of me is sucked into the computer screen, which acts like a portal, and he ends up in all of these amazing scenarios. And really the concept is that there is somebody who's sort of working like a bit of a dead end job. You know, they feel like they've got no drive, there's no real excitement in their life, and this is reflected by both how the character and characters around him are acting, as well as the color palette as well. Wanted it to feel very gray and washed out. And he's on his phone, so he's kind of like doom scrolling. He's taking part in what I would call like empty engagement, nothing really fulfilling coming from the screen of his phone, you know? And then this kind of orange glow, I was thinking it could represent generative AI. The point being that if maybe you feel like you're stuck in a dead-end job and you don't feel passionate about what you're doing, if you learn these generative AI tools, you can effectively transport yourself. You can bring to life all of these ideas that you might have had for years. Whereas previously, you might have needed to be a 3D artist to bring these ideas to fruition. You don't need to do that anymore, thanks to these tools. So yeah, using ChatGPT, great for helping you flesh out your ideas, and particularly when it comes to the more logistical side of things in terms of what shots I might need to further my plot. We take elements of what ChatGPT is giving us, and now we can really start to move on to the fun part, which is of course bringing our ideas to life. And to do this, we've gone across to LTX Studio. I always like to explore these platforms that combine multiple AI tools, and that's exactly what LTX does. These guys have got a really great reputation in the industry, so if you do want to go ahead and check them out, you can click the link down below in the description. And if you do, please let me know what you think. So on their front page here, you can see that LTX2 actually recently launched. I didn't get the opportunity to use that much in this particular video. At the time LTX2 launched, I'd basically generated more or less everything that I need. but we may try to test out the video model a little bit today. But what's nice about LTX is you can build out individual projects. And you can see here, this one is called Lego. And when I open it up, I can really kind of take you on the journey that led to the end result you saw in our intro. And when I talk about AI filmmaking or advertising, I always bang on about creating starting images. There are two different ways to generate AI videos. You can either just go text to video, which is where you just feed the video model a text prompt, or you can use frames to video, where you give the AI tool your starting frame. And that allows you to lock in your style, your character, your location, and then we use the video model to animate that. And the reason I like to work this way is it just gives me a nice level of control, and I find creating AI films that feel more consistent throughout a lot easier this way. And to create our starting frames, we are using Nano Banana. I'm kind of like a broken record with this tool because I absolutely love Google's image model. A lot of people just use it for image editing, but you can use it to create images from scratch as well. And so that's exactly what I did when I was working on what I would call my master image. And by that, I mean, anytime I work on an AI ad or film, I want to generate what I'd call a look Bible. And this sets the tone for everything else that follows after it. All of our other scenes will branch off from this master image. So we really want to use it to lock down things like character, location, style, time of day, lighting, all of that good stuff. And it was very important for this particular advert to lock down the character first of all. So what I'll do is I'll throw up the full prompt that I used to first set off these initial generations on the screen right now. I'm going to put all of the prompts down below in the video description if you want to access them there, or you can of course go ahead and take a screenshot if you'd prefer. And of course you don't need to copy this exactly. You can just use it as a bit of a vibe. Maybe you wanted to create your own Lego character. Now you know how. And just to be clear, to make this initial image, you want to go down to the bottom area here. We can select between generated videos or images. Of course, we want images here. In this field, we can fill out our text prompt. And on this tab, we can select our image model. Of course, we're going for Nano Banana. And there are some other parameters here, including camera angles, shot types, and even aspect ratio. So to generate this master image, this is all I would have done. Filled out this text prompt and hit return. And you can see that what we got back was quite varied in terms of how Nano Banana executed that text prompt. I'm trying to get a character that looks as much like me as possible. And I think all of the generations are great in their own way, but this one here at the top right-hand corner, this really stood out for me, because I felt it was already pretty close to what I was going for. Now, let's say that like me, you're pretty happy with this as your starting base, but you want to hone in some details a little bit more. If we click this small tab here that says iterate, you can see that this now becomes the image that we're using Nano Banana to make tweaks to. And now we enter into a kind of refinement period. So if I scroll down a little bit, you can see that I just gave Nano Banana the simple prompt, turn the baseball cap around so it's facing backwards. Because as you can see, I pretty much always wear my baseball cap backwards, and we're trying to make this character look like me. So remember, this would be very easy if we were just creating a Lego character from scratch, but because we're trying to get this guy to look like me, we are pushing these tools. So you guys get an honest look at their pros and cons and the entire process. And you can see Nano Banana's first generation didn't work. Second one did. Third one didn't. And so now what I would have done is selected this image where the baseball cap was, spun round as I asked, and once again, click iterate, because now we're tweaking this. And what I noticed, if we just open up this image, is the office worker over my left shoulder. He's turning around and facing us, and it just looks a little bit weird and creepy and distracting. And the text prompt I gave Nano Banana was make the office worker on the left-hand side so his head is turned. We can see the back of his head. Now you can see the output I got was pretty good from Nano Banana this time, but there are a couple of issues. And this is when you need to stay quite vigilant if you want to ensure consistency. So with this first generation here, the guy on the right-hand side, his head's disappeared for some reason. And this generation on the very end, our guy here has completely disappeared. But the second generation has done exactly what we asked for. So once again, we would iterate this one. And now another text prompt, give the bearded Lego man large, golded, rounded, rectangular glasses. Because my glasses don't actually look like this, right? This is more of like a Harry Potter vibe, I would say. And once again, you can see second and third generations didn't really do a lot. They just got a bit bigger here. But the first generation, I really liked this output. And something I do want to say about Nano Banana is we're getting a nice level of textural detail. So now, of course, we're iterating this image here. And we say, give the man a white short-sleeved shirt. And this is because I didn't want to be dressed the same as all of the other workers in the office. I wanted something to separate me from them. And you can see the first two generations are pretty similar. But the last one here, you're missing that kind of neckline that's been added in. So I believe I would have iterated this middle one here. Can't actually tell if there's any differences between these. But what I actually went on and did next was I upscaled the image by clicking this tab. You can see here the output has been upscaled, and if I open this up, you can see it looks really great, very crisp, but still holding on to those textural details that we're after. Now, do you need to upscale every single one of the images that you like from Nano Banana? Preferably yes, but is it essential? And if you want to save your credits, maybe not. I actually think it depends on the individual shot itself. So now with this, we have established our master image. Like I say, everything is going to fan off from this point because we're happy with all of the elements within this image. Kind of referred to it earlier on as a look Bible. So now we can iterate from our master image and we can start feeding Nano Banana text prompts to bring our vision to life. And by that, I mean we start giving Nano Banana prompts like this. Wide establishing shot, a vast symmetrical Lego office filled with identical grey cubicles and identical Lego workers typing on computers. Now, I'm not going to go through and read every single prompt in detail because we will be here for a long time, but I will put them down below in the description if you're interested in checking them out. Just to reiterate, on the end of pretty much all of these text prompts, I put the same thing: cinematic realism, 3D rendered Lego minifigures, and then some information about the lens that I've used for that particular shot. And you can see that it does just become this iterative process where you're looking at all of the outputs you get from Nano Banana and picking your favorite, or rerunning the same prompt until you get exactly what it is that you're after. A lot of the time, trial and error is involved. And even as I scroll down, I kind of made my own error because I realized that all of the computer screens were turned off. So we had to go back to the master image, make sure the screens were turned on, and then do the same for our wide establishing shot as well. And as we continue to scroll down, you will see more and more shots being generated, some videos over here as well, but we'll come back to that a little bit later on. But you can see I'm just slowly generating more and more shots to help tell my story. And a lot of this is based on the ideas for shots that ChatGPT gave me. And as I just continue to scroll down, you can really start to see the entire scene come to life just by using single frames. Another feature when it comes to LTX, if I go back to their homepage, there's a tab here which says new storyboard. And if we click in here, we can create either an AI guided storyboard or a blank storyboard. And just to show you how easy it really is to populate this area, if we go ahead and click create image in Gen Space, we can get the ability to pick from any of our generations to populate, for example, shot 1. So let's just scroll right the way down to our master shot, and we can click apply to shot 1, and it populates this area. We click done, and we're starting to piece together our storyboard. And this is actually what I created within this space. And for me, this is incredibly helpful, having some kind of storyboard. What it really nicely shows you is how good Nano Banana is at both creating these kind of visually engaging outputs, but also keeping things nice and consistent. And you can really start to see the visual differences between our office scene, which feels very gray and kind of sterile, depressing, and then our fantasy sequence, which is vibrant and colorful. And the eagle-eyed among you would have also noticed that we're actually missing some of our final shots for this kind of montage dream sequence. And that's because I haven't actually generated them yet. That's what we're going to do in this video so you can see how things work live. So back on the LTX homepage, I want to open up my Lego project, which is all of my image and video generations. Now I want to go back to my upscaled master image and I want to click the iterate tab. And within the text prompt area, I'm going to say, show the bearded Lego man as a sky pirate, riding on the side of an incredible pirate ship flying through the clouds, vibrant and dynamic, scene entirely built of Lego. And let's go ahead and click generate. We're going to be pushed to the bottom of the page. And we can see what Nano Banana is going to create for us using our master image as the reference. So these are all really cool, and they each have their own distinctive style actually. Really, we're giving Nano Banana a bit more creative freedom now. Rather than trying to keep the scene consistent, all it's really worried about is keeping the character consistent. And personally, I really love this middle generation here. Let's just see what kind of result we get if we don't upscale it. You can see there's a tab here which says create video. If we click on that, it's going to populate this area down the bottom. And with the Veo 3.1 video model selected, we can actually input a start and end frame for our sequence. That's very useful if you wanted to create some kind of transition moving from one shot to the next. Let me just move over here for a sec. That's actually what I did for these generations. So what I would have done there is use this close up as my starting frame, and then this wide establishing shot as the final frame. And then Veo 3.1 is going to create a transition between them with my text prompt as kind of creative direction. But in this case, we only really want a start frame, and I want to go ahead and just empty out this text prompt area. And I'm just going to go for a really simple prompt here. The pirate ship soars through the clouds. Dramatic and cinematic scene. I'm going to leave the audio on. We're going to generate for 6 seconds here, I think. Actually, let's go for 4. I think because this is vignettes, we only need a very brief generation, so we'll get more out of our credits that way. We can select the video resolution, so we can pick from 720p or 1080. Let's go for the highest available option. And we can also select our output aspect ratio. I'm of course going to go for 16:9 because we are making an ad. We're not going for something that would be shown on social media. If you were, you could generate using the 9:16 aspect ratio option. And we can even pick how many variations we're going to get back. So let's go ahead and generate 2 Veo 3.1 videos. Clicking generate, we can wait to see what results we get back using this image here as our starting frame. But what we can do whilst we wait is I want to navigate back to my master image. Here it is. Let's create some more scenes for our montage. So once again, I'm hovering over my master image and I'm going to click the iterate tab. And you can see here, I've got a bunch of the outputs that ChatGPT gave me when I was trying to search for my initial ideas for this sequence. So I'm just going to grab this and copy and paste it straight into the text field here on LTX. We'll go ahead and generate some options there. I will of course throw up the text prompt if you guys are interested in exactly what it was that I used. And actually, while we wait for that generation, you can see that we've already got back our Veo 3.1 outputs. And in the space of time it took me to put my headphones on, we've also got back some really cool generations from Nano Banana as well. Very cool. Love the music that's been added here, and everything is making sense in terms of our physics, and we've achieved a nice level of character consistency, which really was our key goal here. Keep in mind as well that if maybe you don't want music or dialogue back, just specify that within your text prompt. And you can see we've also got our Nano Banana generations back of me swimming, and these two here, the hat is on the wrong way round, annoyingly, but in this shot, the baseball cap is on backwards, and I kind of like how this is darker and being illuminated by these kind of coral reef type plants. So once again, we can hover over this image and click create video. And I'm just going to go for a really simple prompt once again. The bearded man swims through the incredible underwater environment. And let's create 2 more Veo 3.1 generations. And if we select our video model, should we give LTX 2 a go? I'm going to go for LTX 2 fast. And let's do 2 generations of that as well. I want to create a bunch more images as well so that they're ready to be animated. So we'll hover over our master image and click iterate, use that as our image reference, and just start dropping in the different text prompts that ChatGPT created for me. There's one of a Lego night. This one here, I'm floating in space as an astronaut. One of me flying a plane. This sounds pretty cool. Let's get that generated. Look at this one, the bearded man as a ninja running across rooftops in an ancient Japan made of Lego. Very cool. And just look at the quality of these images that we are getting back. Insanely cool. We've got back our generations from Veo 3.1 and from LTX 2 as well. Let's check them out, and we can add a little comparison here too. But you can see from both video models, we got back some really nice generations here. And the process would, of course, to be continue to animate each of the images that we like the most. You know, maybe we'll go ahead and tweak this one here. The baseball cap's on the wrong way around again. We know there are ways that we can fix this. Absolutely love this one of me flying a plane, but once again, the baseball cap is not quite right. So we'd have to go in and use this, iterate off of this image to get that baseball cap on the right way around, because we want that consistency. And I'll probably go ahead and generate some different images of our Japan environment where I'm meant to be a ninja. Again, it's kind of my fault because I've said me dressed as a ninja, and the classic ninja outfit covers up most of your defining features, right? So I should have been more specific about maybe just me running through the rooftops. I could literally just go in and say the bearded man running across rooftops in ancient Japan and hit regenerate, and I'm sure it will just instantly solve that problem. And straight away, we've got back some really cool generations. The baseball cap is misbehaving once again, so we'd have to find out a way to tweak that. You know, we just go and iterate this image and use different solves to try to make sure that cap is turned the right way around. And here it's actually just got confused about what we want, and we're now back in the office, but there's really nice blossom trees there. It is an improvement to the environment, I've got to say. That would make me a little bit more happy working in that place. We've really covered the entire process of the actual generations themselves. What I do quickly want to touch on is the editing process. And just as an aside, if we head back to our storyboard and go to the top right-hand corner, we can click share. Very useful feature here where we're able to package up all project assets and get an XML file as well. And of course, this is compatible with both DaVinci Resolve and Premiere Pro, like we're using. So what we have here is essentially a rough cut of the intro. When you guys see it in the final video, it'll be a little bit more polished, particularly in terms of audio. Of course, with our Veo 3.1 generations, we are getting audio baked into them. I'm choosy about which audio I like and which I don't. So I often add my own layers of sound effects and kind of ambient sounds as well. And of course, music plays a very important role also. So essentially the process is that I've followed the storyboard that we had on LTX Studio to stitch all the shots together. I also have two adjustment layers on my timeline. The first is to add a load of film grain. This is something that I do to everything that I work on with AI. So if I turn it off and turn it back on again, I feel like it just adds a nice level of texture. Something that I often do as a visual effects artist when I'm making changes to existing shot footage, it's good to add a layer of film grain on top. Really good example of this is if we're having to carry out like beauty on an actor or actress's face to remove wrinkles or any blemishes or anything. You're smoothing out the texture, but then if you add film grain back on top, it beds everything back in and gives you that feeling of realism. I think with AI, sometimes it comes across too glossy. And so the film grain kind of just helps out with that. It is an aesthetic choice. I think some people might not like it, but I do it for all of my AI stuff. And what we've also done is add in this letterbox as well. You'll notice I've actually used this as a bit of a filmmaking device because when I'm kind of lifted up into the air being levitated, the letterbox pushes out. And this is really simple. I've just added a crop to that adjustment layer and it's keyframed to be pushed out when I'm lifted up into the air. And again, it's trying to sell this idea that the character maybe feels a little bit stuck and they're sort of being restricted. And as they're lifted up into the sky, that restriction is eased. It's sort of the power of generative AI allowing this character to now flex their creative muscles and escape reality, even if it's just for like 5 or 10 minutes a day, right? To execute ideas that they simply couldn't execute before. And just to show you as well, if I drag out by duplicating this shot here, I want to show you the entirety of this shot because what happens is I fly down to the computer screen, I bang my head on it and then kind of just sit back in the chair. So this generation from Veo 3.1 is not actually giving me what I want, but I've been selective about the parts of the generation that I've used and I've ended up cutting on the point where I make contact with the screen, right? And on that cut point, we cut to a different camera angle and show that I've been drawn into it. We have all of these nice sparks and everything, and the computer screen glows down and just goes back to normal. The rest of the office is still this kind of gray, sort of sterile looking environment again. And once again, let me show you the entirety of this generation here, and I'll prove to you that it wouldn't have worked on its own. Look what happens. In fact, let's go full screen for this. What's happening there? Lego characters like half in, and just blows up, like his body just splits in half and explodes. So once again, I'm trying to be creative about using the parts of each generation that work. And I apply the same logic to the audio that Veo 3.1 gives me as well. Sometimes I really like what it gives me and sometimes I don't. So I can be selective about these things. For instance, if I don't like the audio that I got for this generation, I can just right click and click unlink and just throw away that audio and find my own sound effects that I prefer. And when it comes to our video generations, this doesn't work as a plot device because I'm still in the chair, right? It kind of completely defeats the object of the story. This just doesn't really make an awful lot of physical sense. And once again here, very different story. Jack just explodes in the office and nobody notices, rather than being transported to this amazing kind of fantasy realm. And this is kind of what separates, in my mind, AI slop from AI filmmaking or like professional level AI advertising. Having an eye for detail and having good taste. Not just using an entire generation because you paid for it and you feel like you have to use it. Think about yourself as a director on a film set, right? And you're shooting an amazing actor. Not every take that they give is going to be that great. And also not every single moment in the great takes is going to serve for what you're after. And that's the mindset you need to be in here. The tools are amazing and they can output some really incredible stuff. But the emphasis is on us as creators still to pick and choose what we do like. If you have enjoyed today's video, guys, make sure to whack a like on there for me. Consider subscribing if you're new, and of course, ring that bell notification icon so you never miss any future uploads. Any questions at all, be sure to put them down below in the comment section. I try to reply to as many as I possibly can. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.